through Riverside. This is so annoying. I'm just going to do this. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to start over. Welcome to the show where we talk about how to train and feed our dogs better. This is the place where you are going to learn how to dog better with me. We're going to talk about dog training, enrichment, dog food. And today we're going to be talking about the two of the most controversial topics out there, which are dog parks, why I refuse to go to dog parks. But don't just click off, because I am going to talk about a few of the several actually alternatives, but I do want to talk about the why. YouTube is live, yay! Scott, I might talk to you later about what I'm doing wrong. Anyways, we're going to talk about dog parks, and then we're going to talk about on leash greetings, two dogs meeting on leash, or even dog and human, having someone come and pet your dog on leash, my strong thoughts and opinions on those. And then at the end of this, so make sure you stay tuned until the end, I will be doing an Ask Me Anything Q&A. Make sure that you're putting any questions you have in the chat on my YouTube, and click that subscribe, follow button for daily dog tips. So let's just jump right back into it. We had some tech issues, but here we are. Here's the reality when it comes to dog parks. Dog parks were created with humans in mind, not dogs. They were created for the benefits of pet parents, not dogs, because anybody that has a general understanding of dog behavior and socialization understands that putting our dogs in an environment where they're surrounded by even a few or dozens of other unknown dogs can be highly problematic and has more potential for harm than good. Even if you ask most any veterinarian out there, they will tell you that one of the top three, maybe even top five, top 10 reasons that they have injuries coming into the vet clinic or the vet ER are going to be from dog parks. And we'll talk about some alternatives. We'll talk about the why, but really it boils down to too many unknowns and uncontrollables in these kind of off-leash, fenced in, or even not fenced in dog parks. But here's the really interesting thing. The AVMA, the American Veterinary Medical Association, even made a list of the dangers and the diseases dog parks pose, of like why you shouldn't go to a dog park. And a few of the reasons, some of these I think will surprise you. A few of them you may know. And then again, we'll talk about alternatives. Reason number one, or one of the reasons, are pesticides and fertilizers. What a lot of people don't necessarily realize is these public parks are covered with fertilizers and pesticides, which are highly known to contain toxins that are highly irritating to our dogs' nasal cavity, to the respiratory system, and of course to their skin. So it is highly problematic for especially allergy dogs, especially younger dogs, to be exposed regularly or even not regularly to these pesticide riddled and fertilized riddled dog parks. And this is actually, again, from the AVMA, the American Veterinarian Medical Association, because of the harmful impacts that these can have on our dogs, their reproductive system, as well as their immunity. Another reason that we want to avoid dog parks are going to be fleas and ticks. And if you want to know my preferred flea and tick regimen and what has worked for me with regard to fleas and ticks, not using the traditional spot on treatment and not using those monthly pesticide riddled preventative pills that most veterinarian clinics will recommend. I don't do any of that because of the chemicals that are within those. I will link in the description of this YouTube video what I personally do for flea and tick and what has worked for my multiple dogs. You see Bentley over here in 4 different states. And so when you're so back to the dog park, when you're going to the dog park, your likelihood of having them be exposed to flea and tick is much higher. And don't forget that even if your dog is on one of those commercially available traditional flea and tick products that you get from your vet, for example, those don't stop the flea or the tick from jumping on and biting necessarily. It just essentially kills them once they bite down on your dog or kills larvae. So what that means is your dog could still be exposed to tick-borne illnesses even if they're on that preventative commercially available treatments, which is why I go through the process that I go through. Another common thing that dogs can get from dog parks are kennel cough. And another interesting one from AVMA is heat stroke, especially in the warmer months, because a lot of times uh, dog owners or pet parents, dog moms, whatever you want to call us, will be in the dog park kind of looking at their phone, not necessarily paying attention to their dog. And that's when problems can arise and our dogs get overheated. A lot of times the water bowls have not been cleaned regularly, or there's no water bowls available. So heat stroke is actually a very, very real issue. Another are going to be infections that can be transmitted via respiratory system and or skin to skin, like fungal infections, which is actually fairly common, where veterinarians have told me in many interviews I've done that they'll get dogs coming in that have these skin or fungal irritations, rashes or infections, and they find out it came from an outbreak at a local dog park. And then probably the most, well, okay, I'll say the second most big reason why I avoid dog parks. Now, I want to say something too before I share this is I have no judgment if you have or do go to dog parks, because my Labrador here, he just turned 13. When he was young, like probably between ages 2 to 3, 2 to 4. Uh, I went to dog parks all the time. I thought it was a great way for him to socialize, which we'll talk about in a moment. I thought that dogs were supposed to socialize by interacting with other dogs. I thought that dogs were supposed to that they were supposed to exercise and run and play with a bunch of other dogs, and that was the only way to socialize. But boy, was I wrong. And again, I'll discuss that in a moment. So I have no judgment for you. I'm just sharing my experience, what works for me based on research and based on really credible sources, in my opinion. So the second most important reason why I avoid dog parks now are injuries. Again, I said before, if you ask your veterinarian, it is very likely, and I see a bunch of you in the chat. Thank you for being here on YouTube. I will be answering Q&A um, Q&A at the end of this. So I'm going to kind of do this chat because a lot of people will watch this on replay, and then I'll go do Q&A. So stay tuned for that. Keep your questions coming in. So the second most common reason are injuries. And this isn't just with dog fights. So a lot of times we think, yeah, sometimes there's a dog fight. There was one research that was done that I think it was less than 10% of altercations at dog parks were like really intense dog fights, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. But the problem is dogs can get injured really easily, even with dogs that are playing well together. Because what a lot of us, and I didn't know this, until maybe 5 years ago, what a lot of pet parents don't realize is that even dogs that are playing well together, more does not equal better. A lot of times we need to step in and give them breaks because they can either become hyper focused or too intense in their play, and they're going back and forth and we think they're having fun, and they probably are having fun, but they don't necessarily always have the ability to just stop for a minute and slow down. So that's where injuries can happen. Also think about dog collars. If a lot of us keep our collars on our dogs all the time, especially at a dog park, you know how easy it is for dogs, and they're kind of off in the distance, so you can't necessarily get to them quickly, and the other dog gets their mouth caught in here, and that can easily escalate to be very traumatic really quickly. And another reason is a lot of dog parks, not all, but a lot are not maintained very well. So what that means is, especially if there's dogs that go there that like to dig, maybe you don't see that there's a pothole, several feet down the way, and you're throwing your ball for your dog and you're getting them exercise, and they running, and then boom, they kind of hit that pothole, and there goes their knee or their hip. Now, I know that's a little like, okay, you can't put your dog in a bubble, but these are just really very real things that happen, pretty common at dog parks. But probably the number one reason, most important reason why I 100% will avoid dog parks. Sorry, let me say that again. That I will 99% of the time avoid dog parks. I'll talk about that 1% in a moment. Is mental health of the dog. Because here's the thing, for many dogs, it only takes one negative interaction with one other dog, that maybe the other dog is having an off day, maybe the other dog doesn't jive with your dog and goes after your dog, even if it's a small short scuffle and they kind of get into it and then it breaks up, nobody has any blood or obvious injuries. The negative mental impact that can have on your dog for the rest of his or her life is extremely possible and extremely likely. And so a lot of dogs get reactivity issues, fearful issues, anxiety issues from being put in a very vulnerable place. And that, you okay? And that vulnerable place is a dog park. There's just really no reason for it, in my opinion. And I'll talk about alternatives. Um, I, yeah. So beyond that, I think, to summarize dog parks, don't do it. But you may be thinking, well, wait, what's that 1% that you mentioned? And by the way, thank you for those of you that are just joining in. Please make sure that you click that follow and subscribe button for daily dog tips. This is the place where we talk about how to train and feed our dogs better. So that 1% of the time that I would use a dog park is if you find a dog park and you're lucky enough to find a dog park that isn't frequented often. Now, there's still risks of there being diseases or things that can be transmitted there. But that can technically happen on trail walks and neighborhood walks as well. It's just heightened and much higher and much more likely in a dog park because there's. Are you okay? They just fed him, so he probably has something caught. Um, and so, but I'm fortunate that in my neighborhood, there's a smaller fenced in dog park that nobody ever uses. So I go early morning or in the evening, sometimes, not often. It's not a super common place. And I'll let my dogs run off leash and they're good to go. Um, what are you doing? What you choking on? What you choking on, Benny? My old man. He's just doing his little old man cough. So let's talk about why people want to go to dog parks. Because you may be saying, okay, Rachel, we got it. You don't like dog parks. But the reason I go is because I want to socialize my dog. But here's the thing, the best way, and this isn't from my opinion, this is based on, well, it is based on experience, but it's also based on learning from dog trainers and behavioralists much smarter than myself. And that is, dogs socialize through experience. Dogs socialize through observation, and dogs socialize through working with you. And so, what I mean by that is a lot of people think that socialization means interaction, meaning they think that in order for their dog to socialize, they need to be physically playing with or interacting with other people or other dogs. They think that socialization means they need to be physically interacting with something. And that's really not the case in most situations. Really, what a socialized dog is a neutral dog. A dog that can be put in most any situation and not have this like extreme reaction. You could go to the park, you could go to a dog friendly store like Home Depot, you could go to a trail, you could go walk around your neighborhood, and your dog's focus is on you. And your dog, if they encounter something different, let's say a scooter or I don't know, a different critter running around, their immediate reaction is to not react. That is a socialized dog. A socialized dog, and okay, we'll talk about how to socialize. So I think that we need to dispel the myth that dogs need to go play with a bunch of other dogs. Dogs aren't like us where we want to have a lot of human interaction. Dogs interaction and their fulfillment comes from within their pack. And no, I'm not talking about alpha or anything like that, but like their home base, right? So like my Bentley here has more joy hanging out and interacting with Finnegan and Marlowe and my mom's dog Wally and one of my best friend's dogs Dottie than just strange dogs. So let's talk about dog park alternatives and how to socialize, and then we'll talk after that about on leash greetings, and then we'll get to Q&A. So dog park alternatives and ways that we can socialize our dog more safely. One is going to be Sniff Spot. This is an app where you can reserve people's yards, and many people on this app, and it's across the country, have property or yards that are like an acre or 2 acres where you get private use of that, or you can uh, uh, reserve it with uh, a small group of your close friends with dogs that you know, trust, and that you know your dog is comfortable with. So Sniff Spot and renting out yards or property is a really great way to do that. I think that's an excellent way to also build enrichment as well. Sniff breaks is another incredible way to socialize and enrich your dog. And the reason is when your dog is sniffing, and a sniff break is where you're walking your dog in the neighborhood or on a trail walk, and then you ask or tell them to go sniff. And when you tell them to go sniff, they have the ability to go wherever they want, as long as they're not yanking you over, and as long as they're safe, of course, and sniff. And this is a great way for them to communicate and interact with their world and the environment around them. They are going to get so much more out of that than being chased by a random dog at the dog park. It's going to be highly stimulating, going to give them experience to new and different things, and going to help build a more confident dog. Hide and seek games are an excellent way to tire your dog out, to socialize your dog. Because another reason we take our dogs to the dog park, and the reason that was made for humans, is because it's a way to tire our dog out easily with minimal effort. But the reality is, especially for high energy dogs, having them just run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, oftentimes doesn't really tire them out, because we, especially for high energy dogs, we as humans are usually unable to ever physically fully tire out our dogs. Obviously, this isn't the case for like low energy breeds. And so just having them run back and forth can sometimes get our dogs to be overstimulated or just cause injuries. So other ways that we can tire them out, and what was I going to say? Oh, and socialize them, is to work their mind, because remember, mental stimulation or enrichment or working their mind is twice as tiring and satisfying as physical exercise alone. And if we can do both, great. Other alternatives are using a long leash in a field, in on a hike, or even in your neighborhood, all safely, of course. I have a 10-foot leash, a 20-foot leash, and a 30-foot leash. It'll all be linked down below for you, as well as my favorite pet products, my dog food list. All of that will be linked down below for you. And this is an excellent way to give your dog some freedom to kind of run around, observe the environment, stretch their legs, sniff, forage, even dig a little bit safely on a long leash. So that's a great way to do that. Hiking. Another one would be group dog walks. I know that there are, in larger cities, usually they'll have dog trainers, which I only recommend positive reinforcement trainers, that will lead dog walks where your dog is never really interacting physically with other dogs, but you're all walking parallel together. And this is a great way to socialize your dog, get exercise and enrichment. I really, really love these group led dog walks by professional dog trainers that are positive reinforced. Group dog training classes like agility or dog sports like nose work or um, rally obedience. These are classes where your dogs don't necessarily interact physically together, but they are doing activities together with a professional dog trainer. And I like that because the dog trainer, if they're good, can help keep an eye on body language. Body language is another really big reason why I don't love dog parks, because, and this was me just a few years ago, and honestly, I still am learning every day. Most of us are not really strong at being able to identify body language, and dogs' body language can tell us things that we might only have a couple seconds to react to. And if we miss that, dangerous or bad things could potentially happen. Okay, so a couple other alternatives are play dates in your yard or a neutral yard with your friends' dogs, not just all your friends, but if you have a friend that you know is really responsible with their dog, they know how to read their dog's body language, that can be a really great activity where a lot of people will say, okay, I believe that dog parks are not ideal, but my dog loves playing with other dogs. Okay, great. Finding friends or people maybe that you met at the dog park and scheduling a play date could be a really great way to do that. I also I also love the idea of, not love, but if you're really set on these group play sessions, some dog trainers will host supervised dog um, park play dates where you stay with your dog and you go with other dogs that the dog trainer knows. They've done classes together. And then it's so low. And then the dog, and then you have like a play date group session, but you have dog trainers there supervising and you're there to keep everybody safe. That's another potential option. And this next one is not necessarily my favorite. And then we'll get onto on leash greetings. But some situation, I've only found one that I trust, but there are doggy daycares. Now, I am not a fan of doggy daycare for all the reasons I listed for dog parks. Basically, everything I listed there applies to doggy daycares, but it's even worse because you're not there. So you can't see what's going on. And it only takes one negative interaction. So you may be saying, well, I've taken my dog to daycare and a doggy daycare for the last 2 years, and they are so happy, they're so tired afterward, and that's great, but it only takes one negative interaction. A new dog comes in, or a dog's having an off day, goes after your dog, and then boom, your dog could have really significant mental impacts after that and have reactions and things like that. So I'm not a big fan, but I did find one doggy daycare with a highly reputable dog trainer and dog trainer team that I really, 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 really trust and known them for a long time now. And they will set up doggy daycare sessions, and they'll only do like a few hours at a time at most. And they keep it very small, very limited. The owners all get a chance to know all the dogs, and you can drop your dog off for a limited time. Now, do this at your own risk, right? But in this situation for me, it has been kind of nice. But it's, again, I know these people very, very well, but there still is risk. So I honestly don't really do it that often. And then, oh, lastly, the way we can socialize our dogs is by enrichment, mental stimulation. The more opportunity we give our dogs to experience new and different things and have positive outcomes, the better. Whether you're giving them snuffle mats or puzzles to use, which all my favorite enrichment toys and tools will be linked in my YouTube description below. Um, when you use those, you can use them in different environments. So let's say you're like, oh, I have this puzzle that I feed my dog their food out of, but they do it in 2 minutes. Great. Take that same puzzle and go outside of a dog park, like a pretty far distance away, and get your dog to do the puzzle then. It'll be a lot more difficult. Take it to a park and do it in the car, things like that. Let's talk about on leash greetings, and then we'll get to the Q&A section. Uh, Make sure, if you're not already following, for daily dog tips, and click that subscribe button for your daily dog tips. For those of you just popping in, this is where we learn to train and feed our dogs better together. So on leash greetings, meaning you're walking your dog and somebody else says, hey, can my dog meet your dog? Do you let them? Do you not? Or you're walking your dog and somebody says, can I meet your dog? Can I pet your dog? Do you let them? Do them not? Do you not? So I have no judgment with whatever you do, but learn from my mistake where I used to allow Finnegan, my golden doodle rescue, to do on leash greetings with other dogs because he loved it, which he did. But I'll tell you in a moment why that was not a good idea. So, to summarize, to answer the question, do I like on leash greetings dog to dog? The answer is no. And there's a few reasons. The number one of the number one mistakes I did with Finnegan was allowing on leash greetings for a period of time when he was younger, like 1 and 2 and 3 years old. We lived in an area where there was a lot of dogs, a lot of shopping, and we just walked him everywhere all the time. And he was the dog that everyone wanted to come pet and other dogs wanted to come meet. And so I allowed it. Here's why that's a big mistake. Now, today, he's over 5 years old. We still struggle with this because what I did is I reinforced a bad habit, meaning I would allow dog leash greetings, which always went well, but explain why. I'll explain more on that in a moment. They always went well, but too well. And so now, anytime we're walking on leash and Finn sees another dog, especially if they're showing interest in him, or somebody that's like, oh, can I come pet your dog? Guess what Finnegan likes to do if I'm not being really proactive about keeping his attention and focus? He wants to scream his lungs out because he's frustrated, and it's because he's frustrated he can't go say hi because I haven't let him say hi to other dogs on leash for a few years now, and or 2 years at least. And he's frustrated because he wants to, and he's excited because I used to let him do it for so long. So let me save you the heartache and the trouble that I'm still struggling with him because he's just a very intense dog in general. um, don't allow on leash greetings, but not just for that reason. The biggest reason, and this is through research, this is through, again, not just my own personal opinion, this is what I would think most, if not all, dog trainers would agree on. I'm not a professionally trained dog trainer, by the way. I've just fostered dozens and dozens and dozens of rescue dogs, and through trial and error and being thrown into the fire and having to train these dogs and nurse them back to health in very short periods of time, and all of them having pretty significant behavior issues, and me working with so many high qualified trainers, I've just learned so much. So I just share what I've learned with you. But the biggest reason that we don't want to allow on leash greetings is, candidly, there's no benefit. There's really no true benefit. Yes, you may think that your dog is enjoying it, but most of the times, or much of the time, on leash greetings are not consensual. Dogs are like us in that they may kind of feel like being social today, but tomorrow they're not. Maybe the other dog isn't feeling it. Maybe the reason the other dog is pulling towards your dog is not because they want to socialize, but because they want to mount your dog, or start playing rough and make your dog feel uncomfortable. Most of the times, our dogs are not really interested in interacting with other dogs on leash if we don't allow it. Like, that's not necessarily something that brings them great joy. And so much bad can happen with on leash greetings that, in my opinion, it is not worth it. So, what happens is, especially on leash, dogs are meeting face to face or even nose to butt. Um, and in an instant, fight or flight can happen, meaning that something could happen. It could be an external thing. Like maybe they're meeting and everything seems to be going okay. They're sniffing each other. You think it's going well, but then a car backfires or something externally happens. And one of the dog kind of gets spooked in an instant. They could just start panicking, pull to the end of the leash. And then because they're on leash, they feel like they can't escape. And guess what one of the main causes of dogs to react or get aggressive, like kind of attacking another dog, is because they've got into fight or flight and they feel like they can't escape. They feel restricted. They feel trapped. Dogs that feel trapped, just like a human, right? Many times their initial, or one of their initial instincts is to kind of go after what's kind of keeping them trapped. And so just like that, a tangle up can happen really bad. And that's another reason is leashes can get tangled all the time. That used to be such an issue. I don't know why I didn't have more common sense. um, oh, and by the way, I'm sitting in my human dog bed. This is a Pluffle. I'll have it linked down below. This is not sponsored by any means. I had a chance to connect with the two founders, these two young guys that are just really trying to create something cool and useful. And despite my senior sleeping in here, this is actually a human bed, a human dog bed. Like, this is where I nap. And it's pretty cool. You can use my last name, Fusaro, as the code to save. I think it's one of the only ways to save on the Pluffle, but I'm obsessed with this thing. Ooh, we should call these chats like Pluffle chats, or my I don't know. Anyways, okay, back to on leash greetings. Um, yeah, those are the main reasons. Like it can escalate and be more harmful than positive. Now, if I was now, I'll give you a few alternatives though, because you may say, well, but I want to walk with other dogs, or I want to interact with my friend who also is walking their dog. There's alternatives, but before I share that, let me explain how I would do an on leash greeting dog to dog if I was going to, which I'm not going to, but basically all I would do is I would, instead of allowing dogs, I would never allow dogs to go nose to nose. And instead of allowing my dog to go nose to butt, which is a more natural way for dogs to meet, instead of that, I would always keep moving, and we would walk in parallel with the other dog that I want my dog to meet. So we'd walk in parallel, continually, highly rewarding my dog if they focus on me and not the other dog. What you may not realize is as you're walking together and the two dogs are parallel, they're socializing, they're communicating through body language and through sense primarily. This is highly safer and more beneficial than this or this. That's weird. And I would do this for like a very short period of time, 5, 10, 30 seconds, and then go off, go do the things, come back, 5, 10, 30 seconds, then go off, come back. And this is obviously with dogs that you don't know. If I like one of my best friends has a dog that my dogs are very comfortable with, and we can walk together, for a whole mile and it's fine because they're familiar with each other. So a few alternatives are similar to the dog park. Like I said before, you can go to ideally a neutral yard. Like if you want your dog to meet another dog and they can meet off leash there. I have videos linked in my YouTube down below on how I introduce dogs. Hi, Marlo. Marlo, you want to come say hi? Oh, we just did a training session and she's doing so good. They want to say hi to you. Hi. Hi, everyone. Look at me. Oh my God. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know, I adopted Marlo. Marlo is officially a Fusaro, so welcome to the family. Hi, puppy. Hi, sweet girl. Y'all, can anybody guess how much she weighs? Well, I haven't weighed her in like a week, so it might be different. But last week we weighed her, and she weighed almost 52 pounds, which is pretty big. Like I was not expecting her to get that big. I love it. She's getting healthy. Um, okay, so other alternatives to on leash greetings, a neutral yard or one of your backyards that's fenced in, parallel walks, trail walks where you're walking side by side, or if you really want your dog to be interacting with other friends, you can do coordinated doggy play dates with people that you really trust and know. Okay, so, oh, and then lastly, on leash greetings between dog and human. So, this is really interesting. If there's not a ton of value and benefit from people coming up to you and your dog and petting your dog. In fact, I would not allow that. And what I tell people when they come up to, and I'll explain what I do instead, but what I tell people if they try to come up and pet Marlo, or they come run, any of my dogs, and like, oh, I want to come pet your dog. I want to come pet your dog. Typically, what I'm going to say is, um, oh, what did I say? Oh, it's so funny, but I'll typically say, oh, Marlo's off the clock right now, maybe another time. And I love that because people look like, ooh, maybe she's famous, but they get the hint that she's working and not really open to being pet. Now, I went through canine good citizen training and therapy dog training, and they actually teach you how to have people meet your dog on leash. And what I learned there is if you want somebody to meet your dog on leash, it needs to be on the dog's term every time. And it's not something I do a ton. But if I really want my dogs to meet somebody, what I do is I tell the person, I have them step back and I say, okay, I'll see if Marlo or Bentley or Finnegan is up to meeting you. Let me check. And I literally put my hand up, I'll do it like nicely, like, okay, just one moment. Let me see if they're up to meeting you right now. And I ask them to not reach down and pet my dogs. And what I'll do is I'll get a focus from my dog, and usually sitting by my heels at my left side. And I will tell my dog, go say hello. And if my dog walks up to that person, I don't even give the person treats, because I don't want my dog to because my dogs are very food motivated. So if a stranger has treats and holding it out like, "Oh, let me pet your dog," what can happen is my dog might feel like they want those treats. And one of my best friends taught me this. But the person will have treats and my dog really wants those treats, and even if my dog is not comfortable to go say hi, my dog may still go up and say hi, grab the treats, and run away. That's not a positive interaction. I want my dog to be excited and thrilled to go say hi if I'm going to allow it. So I would tell my dog, go say hello. If my dog goes up to the person, excellent. I tell the person kindly, please only pet them on their chest. Or what I say before that is, uh, don't pet them, just let them sniff you, let them explore you. And if I notice that my dog's body language is calm, relaxed, and they are genuinely interested in meeting and interacting with this human, and they really want to pet, then I'll say, okay, you're welcome to pet, but don't force it and don't pet the top of their head. Chest and chin or their back end is really where I would want you to pet. Also keep that very, very short and light. Benito, hi, my friend. And by the way, I got your issue resolved. I'll send you a DM shortly. Okay, so make sure you click that subscribe button. Make sure you follow for daily dog tips. But hey, for those of you watching on YouTube, is it blurry? It looks blurry on my screen. Let me know if it's crisp. Now, I rambled for too long. How long have I been doing this? I don't even know, but I it's exhausting. But let's do questions and Q&A. And if anybody could let me know in the chat if the video is crisp or blurry. Um, okay, why do people just pet my dog without permission? I know it's because my dog and Sina, all good. Thank you, Adelie. A little blurry on YouTube, but not that bad. Dang it, what is wrong with me? Um, Maybe it's my, you know what? I'm getting a webcam. That's all there is to it. Anyways, okay. Cinna asks, why do people just pet my dog without permission? I know it's because my dog is wanting their attention, but she'll do this every single person. How do I stop that? So are you asking how to stop your dog? Cinna, can you clarify that question? It's definitely not crisp, but it's not super blurry. Ugh, that's annoying. Yes, it's blurry for me. It's blurry. Oh my gosh. I don't know why that's the case. I'm so sorry. I'm going to figure out all the tech stuff, so nobody worry. Nobody worry. Um, okay. Whatever. We're going to move through. Okay. Let's do your questions. Any good food for pugs? I would love to feed my pup a healthy food. Okay. I saw a lot of questions in general about dog food. I'm going to make it really easy for you. I have a living document that I call my dog food list. It is linked in the description below. If you're watching this live, I'll link it as soon as I publish it. What that means is I don't just give you a list of like, oh, here's 5 dog foods I love. What I did was, for the brands where I could connect with the founders, the owners, the decision makers, and actually fed it myself and like their food, I made a list of that. And you can actually go to that. It's just RachelFusaro.com/dog food. Pretty simple. And I not only put the list there, but I also gave um, Scott, yes, I will. I'm using Riverside, by the way. It's really frustrating me. Anyways, I, the dog food list, I gave why I liked it, but I also gave pros and cons. I think a lot of times people say, oh, here's a list of foods that I like, with no context. And to me, it's important that I'm not just telling you what to do. I'm not just telling you what brands to feed, because every dog is different. So I can't, unless I have a one-on-one conversation with you, I can't tell you what the best food is for your dog. But what I can tell you are, here's the brands and here's the foods that I use, love, and trust, that I have vetted out from the founders and or key decision makers directly. And I can tell you why I like the food. I can tell you what kind of dogs they're typically good for, picky dogs, allergy dogs, etc. And I can also tell you the negative parts of the food because, to be honest, there is no one dog food that's best for every single dog. And so that's how I set that up in my dog food list. Um, Sam, my boyfriend Mikey, says he learned so much from this one stream. Awesome. Yay. That makes me happy. Very good. And those of you on my Instagram, I'm answering the questions on the YouTube channel. So go to my YouTube to put that questions you have. Um, just found you last week. You were great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Vera. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Changing food from puppy to adult. Ooh, I love it. Vet said salmon and rice diet, allergies, thoughts about. Okay. Um, Transitioning, and this goes for any type of dog food, transitioning from puppy to adult. So this is how I transition puppies to adult foods. I'm typically feeding puppies 3 to 4 times a day up to 18 to 24 months of age. It's going to depend on the dog, the breed, their not their personality, but their metabolic function, and how I know when to start really going to an adult food and scaling back to only feeding 1 to 2 times a day is when I start to notice that they might be gaining a little bit of weight. And that's kind of a key to me. Like, okay, I need to transition them to adult food and cut back their feeding amounts to 1 to 2 times. And some dogs that could happen at like 13 months. Some dogs that might be up to 18 months or 24 months. I consider dogs puppies up until 2 years old. So when I say puppy, I mean a dog that's 2 years old or younger. Um, oh, titer testing. Okay, okay. So I'm not going to say the word, but I will spell it. VAX. We'll call it because YouTube's weird about that. Oh, I don't want to go through a full talk on that here, uh, because YouTube likes to suppress that kind of content. So I will link a video in the description below as soon as I upload this live on my thoughts on that and titer testing. But to summarize, the way that I VAX or VACCINATE my dogs is I only do the core shots when they're younger, and then I titer after. A titer is a test that measures the antibodies or the potency or the effectiveness essentially in the body that they are the antibodies that are in the body for that specific disease. Um, and if they have enough antibodies, then they don't need to get re-upped on the shots. And I'm like being very careful on how I use the words because again, in social media, Instagram, YouTube's very weird on that. So what I mean by that is I only do the core ones. Like I don't do the flu, I don't do kennel cough. Again, I'll have a link below my full thoughts on like how I do it when I do it. And this is all through holistic and integrative veterinarians. And what you can do is a lot of veterinarians will say, okay, well, every year you need to go get re-upped on these shots. Well, instead of doing that, I titer my dogs, meaning they get a test and it will test the antibodies they have in the body for that shot. And if they already have enough in the body, there's no need to give them more. And I have not done annual shots other than what's required legally, like rabies, uh, for many, many years. I just test to make sure that they have enough of the antibodies so that they are protected. And yeah, so that's what titers are. Okay, so what are the questions? I want to get would you recommend professional or home grooming? This is tough. I was anti-professional grooming after several people I knew had some iffy situations. It took me years and years and years to now I found a groomer who I literally would trust with my life. And I say that because I trust her with my dogs. I trust her wholeheartedly. And she would even let me sit and watch the whole time if I wanted to sit for that. But it takes a long time for for my dogs. So I prefer to have her do it. But I still, Marlo, come here, Marlo, come here. You're the whole reason everybody wants to be here. Marlo is still terrified of clippers. We're still working on it. So I scissor cut her. and she goes to that groomer just to play and get a bath. I want her to really, I'm taking everything very slow. So she hasn't had a professional grooming. If she looks all funky coat wise, don't worry, she doesn't have any mats because we brush her, but I scissor cut her. So, and I'm not good at it. Hi, Marlo. What you doing? Say hi. Say hi. Guys, I'm obsessed with this dog. Like, I love all my animals, period. Full send. This dog, and I think a lot of it is because I saw her at her very worst. Mm. All right, what other questions do you guys have? Let's see here. Oh, they're coming in. They're coming in a little slow. How do I get my dog to listen to me better? Everyone needs to listen to this. Okay, Marlo, you literally put your slobber on my laptop. Hold on, let me. Okay, real quick. What's it called? There is somebody was asking, there it is. Okay, somebody was asking about titer tests and how to do a more affordable one because they can be expensive. Ask your vet to check into, or you check into Vaccci Check, I think is what it's called. VACCI Check. That's a lot more affordable. And Hemo Pet is another interesting one, but those are two that you can do. So let's talk about how we get our dogs to pay attention to us. A lot of times the behavioral or training issues that we have with our dogs is related to lack of engagement. And what I mean by engagement is our dog's desire to want to focus on us. So the way that we get our dog to listen to us is to get them to want to focus on us. And the way that we do that is through building engagement. And the way that we build engagement is by working with them and working on activities, games, training sessions where they are tremendously rewarded through treats, play, praise, or toys for focusing on us. A couple examples are I love practicing heel at home, in the home with Marlo. And the way that I do that is in the very beginning, I use a very high value treat or toy, and I get her to, I'm walking. I can't really do it here. It's a small space. Oh, look at Benny. He's being so cute. And I get her on my left side, no leash or anything. And I walk around the house slowly at first, and then I'll go faster. And I continually reward her in the position I want, which for a heel is to be slightly behind me. And I reward like a Pez machine. And I do this and do this and do this. And then after she starts really offering that, I'll put the cue or word to it, which is heel. And I will practice going up, down, left turns, right turns, 360s, 180s. And I start going faster because what that does is that creates that urgency. And she's not going to get any treat or reward until she's by my left side. This is teaching her that focusing on you, following you, healing, which a lot of us are struggling with leash pulling, is valuable. This is a happy spot. I want my left side to be a happy spot. That is a way we get our dog to listen to us. The other thing is to do my daily pup drills. Daily pup drills, which I have a 2-part video, so 2 full videos coming out, literally doing it like real time with you so you can actually see it, either next week or the week after. But daily pup drills are where I spend 10 minutes every day. That's it, 10 minutes working on 3 to 5 cues, like sits, downs, hand touch, the place cue, spin, working on leave-its, working on stays and weights, things like that. So I spend 10 minutes a day. That's it. Working on 5 cues, 2 minutes each cue. So I don't spend a lot of time on each cue or command that I'm working on. But in those 2 to 3 minutes, highly focused and highly rewarding, whether from food, toys, praise, or play. If you do this, if you spend 10 minutes a day working on daily pup drills, is what I call them, 5 cues for 2 minutes each, or 3 cues for like 3-ish minutes each, you will have a completely transformed dog, in my opinion. As long as those 10 minutes are highly focused, highly positive, I think it'll be life-changing. Let's see. Okay, so somebody is talking about Dominique. Dominique is asking about loose stool. They're feeding a brand of food and they're trying the pure pumpkin puree and their stool is still soft. So, step one, if you're having chronic soft stool, diarrhea, or even chronic constipation, step one is go check your vet. Go to your vet. Where I love to find vets, I'm getting ready to, I have a list of vets that I use, love, recommend highly that I'll be sharing soon. Um, but in the meantime, if you go to ahvma.org and then go to the Find a Pet section, AHVMA stands for um, American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. So ahvma.org and go to their Find a Vet section. Go find a vet, get a vet appointment. You can also use Vetster. Vetster is VETSTER, is an app on your phone where you can do telehealth, and they have a lot of holistic vets there. And you can use my, this is not sponsored, but you can use my last name, which is Fusaro, F like Frank, USARO, to save. And you can do a televet appointment. So, vet appointment first and foremost. If there's nothing going on, then it could likely be environmental. You know, maybe your neighbor started spraying a new fertilizer down, for example. It could be stress related, but many times it could be food related. So, what I would do personally is stop feeding any supplements or treats. If you're feeding a supplement that your vet says they need to take, that's a different story. I'm just sharing what I would do in this situation. So, I would remove all treats, chews, um, bones, everything, and I would stop feeding any supplements or anything like that. Stop all of it is what I would do. I personally, for my dogs that are adults, would do a 24-hour fast. Maybe for a smaller dog, maybe it would be like a 12 to 18-hour fast. What I mean by fast is only water is available. If you want to learn more about fasting dogs or how often to feed dogs, sorry, there's crazy wind outside and this bird is trying to fly and it's like going nowhere. Oh my gosh. If you want to learn more about how often I feed my dogs and fasting and things like that, I'll link a video down below for you in a moment in my YouTube description. So, step one is I would fast my dog. Then the next meal I would feed would be very, very bland. Hey, on East Bay Mom on Instagram just sent a badge. Thank you for that. You didn't have to do that. Like, that means a lot. Thank you. Anyways, so I would fast my dog. Next, I would for 24 hours. And then the next 1 to 3 days, it varies, I'll feed a more bland diet. So what you could feed is their a lower fat or lean ground chicken or ground turkey. If you're not comfortable feeding raw, you could feed, oh, it's 11:11 where I'm at. I have to make a wish. Okay. I have made the same wish since 8th grade, by the way. No, 4th grade. Sorry, 4th grade. Okay. Back to this. Okay, I'm like rambling. Fast, then the net for 24 hours. The next 1 to 3 days, I feed a very bland diet. It kind of depends how you want to do this. One option I would feed their full calorie amount in the form of ground turkey or ground chicken, lean, gently cooked for probably most dogs. And for the first day, maybe just that. Then the second day, I would add in slippery elm and pumpkin. That can help slow the GI system. And then I would start slowly adding in their food again. So day 2 or 3, it would be half and half their food, and then the plain ground chicken or turkey. Just make sure there's no seasonings or anything added in it. For hydration, I would do a raw goat milk, a raw goat kefir, and or a bone broth. Now, another option is, again, this is after you've spoken to your vet. Another option that I would do is after the 24-hour fast. The first day that I would feed them, I would do a goat milk fast, a raw goat milk. You get this from your local pet store, and just make sure it's not pasteurized, in my opinion, because then all the healthy bacteria and probiotics are pasteurized out, processed out. and I would feed that goat milk for a solid 24 hours. They would get their calories in the form of goat milk. My dogs love it. You can even freeze it and feed it that way too. That would just be a lot of frozen pieces. And the reason I would do this is raw goat milk, again, from your local independent pet store or local pet shop, would be high in electrolytes. So a lot of times if our dogs, naturally electrolytes, a lot of times if our dogs are having dogs are having loose stool, they're losing a lot of fluid. They might not feel well. So the electrolytes can help them feel better and also help them heal. It also has healthy fats, healthy proteins. It's flavorful, so dogs typically want to eat it. And it's full of healthy probiotics, and it's in its single solo form. Raw goat milk is a complete food source for dogs. So they're really getting many of the nutrients that they need. I wouldn't feed a goat milk only diet for the whole life, but for this temporary supplemental time, that's what I would do. So I would do that for 1 to 2 days after the fast personally. You could even mix some healthy bone broth, pet safe, no salt, no seasoning added. Do like 50% goat milk, 50% bone broth is another option because the collagen in the bone broth will help line the irritated stomach lining. Um, and in the goat milk, you could even add some of that pumpkin powder, like Native Pet, for example, or Slippery Elm. From there, then I start adding in their food slowly. So I hope that's helpful for like my loose stool situation. I also love my dogs eat raw meaty bones, never cooked bones, but yes, my dogs eat raw bones. And I find that if I feed my dogs, like let's say Finnegan gets into something and he has some like cat food, which always gives him loose stool, I find if I give him a little extra raw meaty bones, like raw chicken wing or raw chicken foot, if I give him a good amount of that, the bone actually bulks up their stool and he will have better stool again. It'll help soothe his stomach. And yeah. Okay. What do you recommend for bad breath? Well, check with the vet first. A lot of times it's actually dietary driven. A lot of times they're having irritable bowel syndrome with bad breath, or they're having some GI upset or GI unbalance. The reason I say go to a vet is sometimes there can be something wrong with the dental um, issues, a decaying tooth that maybe you can't see, or gum disease that can really contribute to that. Regular brushing and giving raw meaty bones to chew can really, really help with that. Lower carb, higher fat, healthy protein diets are key. Sarah says organic pumpkin makes a difference. Whenever my dog gets diarrhea, I was using just regular plain pumpkin, and would take a lot of time to her stool would still take time to heal. With organic pumpkin, less than 48 hours. Yes, I have my favorite pumpkins and everything will be linked in my shop page down below for sure. Um, Ooh, this is a good one. How long after getting a new dog or a rescue puppy by Elizabeth do I need to wait before leaving with a dog sitter? Um, so here's the thing. I, if you get this, Elizabeth specifically asked about rescues. A rescue dog, like I said before, I've fostered dozens and dozens and dozens of rescue dogs. Rescue dogs can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months to fully decompress and come into their own when it comes to adjusting in your home. Sometimes longer, honestly. So I don't want to tell you to wait 6 or 12 months if you need to go somewhere and you need a dog sitter. I don't want to tell you that. What I would say though is if you are going to have a dog sitter stay with your dog, your rescue dog, maybe especially if they had a traumatic beginning or a puppy, if you're going to do that under 6 months of being with you or under 12 months of being with you, I would have several meet and greet sessions. And then I would do some trial sessions where the dog sitter comes over. You can tell I'm like, I did this without eating, and now I'm like, I kind of feel like eating. And then have your dog sitter come over for short periods of time with you there, interact with the puppy or interact with the dog, and then have short duration sessions if the dog sitter's up to it. And if they're not, I would steer clear, where they'll watch your dog for like a short period, like an hour. You go away for an hour and come back. Uh, and then I would always do it at your house if possible. Just be careful. Dog sitters, I have a dog sitter that I would trust with my life because I do. They help with my dogs. But mostly I try to use family and friends because I just get nervous with that. Scott with Raw Feeding 101 in the chat and YouTube, which Raw Feeding 101, if you want to formulate your own raw diet, that is where you go. And he says, on another note, pumpkin can go either way. It can help with diarrhea and it can help in some dogs and can contribute to it or even cause it in other dogs. Absolutely. So if your dog is, so that's a great point from Scott. Again, Raw Feeding 101. If you want to DIY, make your own food, that is where you go. And as he explained, if your dog is even constipated, you can use pumpkin as well. Thank you for sharing that. Tis hot mess history. I love that. T's hot mess history. How do you not get attached to dogs you foster? I think that I would. Oh my gosh. Who am I to talk? I just adopted Marlo after fostering her for several months. Okay, here's how it works. So I fostered almost 60 dogs. And again, fostering is where you take in a homeless rescue dog and you keep them in your home and you nurture them back to health through training and health like nutritional health until you help them find their forever home. It was my personality. I was obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed. Clearly, I still foster. And I was always dedicated to not adopting one of my fosters because of the question that T's Hot Mess History just asked. Hi, Finnegan. Come say hi. He's like, are you done, Mom? He also knows this is about the time we usually go on a walk. And they have not had a proper walk in the past couple days, so they're due. But I started actually my YouTube channel because I wanted to not just tell you how it's possible to let them go to their forever home, but I wanted to show it. So I actually started my YouTube channel years ago, specifically documenting my foster dogs and their rehabilitation, but also showing you literally day by day, minute by minute, how I was able to let them go. But to summarize it, I was able to let them go to their forever home. One, because I put a ton of due diligence and research into the family that they'd be adopted to. I always worked with and volunteered with rescues. I was actually the foster coordinator, sat on the board for number of time for a lot of time. I can't speak. And so I was very familiar with the process and knowing kind of what to look for in homes. I did the home visits myself. I didn't have anybody else do that. Hi, Marlo. She's like, oh, it's time to go on our walk, Mama. This is why you don't do a routine with dogs, y'all. Adult dogs, is because they start demanding it, huh? Yeah, they know. They know it's about time we go play. But what I told myself is if I'm able to find a forever home for this dog, that is not only one, but two more dogs that I can help and save. And I always go back to the first feelings and emotions I had when I first brought in that foster dog. Penny, thank you so much for the badge. You did not need to do that, but thank you. It means a lot. I think back to the feelings and emotions I had when I first brought the foster dog home, because they're typically in rough shape, like Marlo was, covered in feces, terrified of everything, trembling, couldn't even stand up, too scared. And I remind myself that there are countless dogs out there that are in that exact same position. And if I do keep every dog I foster, then I wouldn't be able to foster again. And if I don't foster anymore, then I'm not able to help those dogs that are in need, just like Marlo. So, if you don't know, I fostered Marlo. She's down here. Look what she has. What do you have? Show them. My slipper. Can you see that? She has my slipper. She loves slippers. No, I don't let her chew them, by the way. Anyways, when we brought her home, I had zero, and I had taken a break from fostering because we were renting in a place that I couldn't make it happen. And then we moved, and then I got an email from the rescue I volunteer with um, who said they had a dog in need, which was Marlowe. And oh, tis hot. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. I don't even know how you put that $5 in the chat, but T's Hot Mess History. Thank you so much. For anybody watching, go follow her. I have not checked out your channel yet, but I will. Thank you for that. Anyways, I remember they were like, "Hey, we need help with this dog," and I said, "Oh, it's not good timing, but I'll do it." And so I started fostering her. I had zero, and I did not want another dog. I already have two, and I never wanted three dogs. I'm actually even a big advocate of just having one dog, so you can like really focus on that one dog. What happened with Marlowe is I, for whatever reason, could not imagine somebody else giving her what I believe she needed because she was one of the worst off I've ever found, in terms of when she first came into my home and how poor her condition was, both health and mentally. And I made a promise to her first day we brought her home, and she was so scared, wouldn't even look at me. And I told her I will never let her be this afraid again for the rest of her life. And I just, that was it. It took a few months of me fostering her to make the decision. Like, it wasn't even on my mind until like month 3. I started thinking it, maybe month 2. And she's going to need a lifetime of work, and I'm going to do that for her. So what I would say is, if you go into you know what? I should make a whole video on this, but I will say this. If you are considering, I think everybody in their lifetime should foster one dog. That was kind of my mission for the longest time. It's where this saying came from that says, save all the damn dogs. Because yes, it's about how we train our dogs better so that we keep them out of the shelters, and how we feed them better so that they live longer, but also to encourage rescue and foster work. Because if everyone fostered one dog in their entire lifetime, even if it was a temporary foster, T, you can foster, you could be a temp foster where you do it for just a weekend for like transfers and stuff. That's something to look into. But if everybody fostered one dog, imagine how many dogs we could help. It would be insane. It would be insane. Okay, with that, I'm going to jump off. The dogs are getting uneasy and restless. Look at Marlo back here. Can you see her? She's playing. She's like, if you're not going to play with me, I'm going to go entertain myself. What is this little coffee thing? He has something stuck in his throat. My old guy. Oh. You guys might get a live vomit. I will spare you that. Do me a favor. Click that follow button. Click that subscribe button for daily dog tips. Hi. And also, to learn how to feed and train our dogs better, T, happy to help. And I hope you do. DM me on Instagram if I can ever help you with that, getting back into fostering. Thank you for being here. Share this video if you found it helpful with friends and family, because I think this message about dog parks is important. And I will see you again next week. Leave in the comments on the main video once it publishes more topics you would like me to cover in lives. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Scott of Raw Feeding 101. Thank you so much. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. You guys are amazing. I get emotional when I do these because I just see all the love, and I don't, we're going to have to go inspect that. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel worthy of you, but I feel very grateful. Thank you, guys. All right, that's it. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Goodbye. Bye, guys.